we will transition to a video, but don't worry, I'll be right back after that. Stay tuned, and we hope you enjoy as much as we do. Thank you to the tech team for that. As you can see, it has been a very busy first 3 or 4 months here at World Merit, and we have redesigned our logo. We have a new brand, and we have so many other really lovely announcements, and stay tuned for those. I'll be certainly covering them all for you here in just a moment. I do want to go through and recognize some of our team members. I also have some really lovely updates from all of our really amazing departments here. So let's go through those now. Give me just a moment here to share my screen with you all. And so if you have questions, of course, please drop those in the chat. My team will be more than happy to assist you. From there, we will be posting links if you would like to donate. You want to sign up to be a volunteer. You want to join a council, which there's been so much activity throughout the week amongst all of those. And we have a very strong call for you all to get active in your communities. You all have done some tremendous work, and we are so very excited to see what that looks like by this time next year. So let's get started, everyone. We've already discussed, everybody, we have a new brand. We're going to have a new website. That is all going to be launched in the coming weeks. What's more, we have an official and our first brand new board of directors that just started with us this week. We will be spotlighting them in our newsletter over the coming months ahead, and we're already diligently working so much to be able to support all of you. We're going to have an AI project with the university. Also, sorry about that extra U. That's on me. That's what happens when you get older. And look at small screens. We have university partnerships that are coming for all of you, for our volunteers. And by the way, it is going to require a lot of action in your community on your part. And I'm confident, especially after the really lovely, amazing Dr. Humira Noor gave us this presentation on how to use AI for funding, develop those projects. We're very excited to see those. We will have employer partnerships for active volunteers that we are very much working on. We've already have about 4 in process at the moment. We are looking to have a global event for our top 100 volunteers, sponsored in part by the Kingdom of Morocco. More to come on that. And again, we are looking at spring of 2027. There will also be a chance to attend event at the United Nations in 2027. Again, it's based on all of you getting active in your communities. We'll have a volunteer to fellowship program, and I've worked very hard on that with our board president, Ron Bohm, who has been selflessly supporting World Merit over the last few years. And we will have a formal career and job preparation course that will be featured on Action University. So from there, we have, there we go. Okay, great. Thank you. So Action University, speaking of that, we have new courses that just launched. We have about 20 more that are coming. So if you want to educate yourself, get in there, get on it. We have a lot of classes to help you each to learn how to be a more aggressive volunteer, how to communicate, how to use LinkedIn for organizations and individuals. We have building sustainable communication systems. Our lovely colleague, Mohammed Shali, has done a tremendous job at developing all of these courses, and there are so much more for all of you in the future. Now, over this last week, I have to say, I am absolutely impressed by all this growth you're seeing here on our screen. We have had in a single week, which by the way is more than we've had in a year, 20 council creation requests, 13 brand new countries requesting to join. We've had about 100 councils reach maturity. That means they're actively fundraising, they're out in their community, and they're doing some really wonderful work. And watch our website, check us out on socials, Facebook, Instagram. By the way, TikTok is developed. We will be releasing that all for you as well. And of course, LinkedIn. Follow us on all of those channels because we're also going to be starting out on our YouTube channel as well. We had global council applications from the United Kingdom, and they have been working on Brave Voices for Volunteers, empowering the next generation of leaders. Because remember, folks, we're going from Gen Z to Gen Alpha, and they are going to be a force to be reckoned with. We have Nigeria. They have been working on a tree planting campaign and climate advocacy. We also have Burundi working on a plastic cleanup project, which is so important for our entire world. We have Katsina, Nigeria. They did a bridge program pilot with over 65 students reached across 2 schools. We have Abuja, Nigeria, where we had food donation for community support plus mental health awareness campaign. We had and hosted in South Sudan a watch party. Thank you all so much. And we had awareness activities on healthy food and food habits for children. Again, everybody remember, this is all aligned with the UN Sustainable Development Goals. We have new councils kicking off this very week in Sierra Leone, Madagascar, South Sudan, Sohag, Egypt, and as well Pakistan. Now, if you would like to join a council or volunteer in your community, my colleagues are going to post in that chat the links to be able to join us. We're on a mission. We want you to join us to be able to do that, because over the next 10 years, we have a pretty tremendous plan laid out that we want to get to at least 10 million volunteers. That's going to take a lot of effort. That's going to take a lot of working together, and it's going to be getting active in our communities. There's so much that we all need to work on in this world to help it become a better place. And I am so very confident in all of you and the hard work that you're doing. We have in the next week as well, Berlin, Germany is hosting a community grill in the Tempelhofer Feld, which is a very large old airport repurposed for gathering and concerts and events. In Egypt, we have a woman empowerment event, which is so amazing. We have in Sierra Leone an in-person gathering to brainstorm some volunteer activities. And I think if you were to go and refer back to what Dr. Humira had said, that's a great place to start. In Pakistan, we have awareness activities on education and extracurricular participation. In Jigawa, Nigeria, we have also going to be hosting a mental health webinar on Sunday. We have further development in Madagascar as well and in Egypt. These are really some really great key areas. So if you're in those areas, please consider joining. Now let's take a look at what activities have happened over the last year as a result of all of your hard work. We've registered over 6,143 volunteers. We've partnered with over 155 organizations. We've had a lot of activity on the platform. On our external participants, people that are just coming to check us out, that's almost nearing 500. So as you can see, we have the momentum, and the goal is to continue that from today forward. Now let's talk a little bit about Volunteers for Cause. The Volunteers for Cause got started during the COVID pandemic, the years that we don't like talking about because so much time was lost and so many people. Through that, Volunteers for Cause, they put together the entire COVID vaccine schedule and distribution throughout all of Africa. Now, what does that mean? That means people the ages of 18 to 30 put that together to make sure that they could get vaccines on the entire continent distributed in Africa. From there, we developed Volunteers for Cause, which as of a few months ago, officially, back in April, we moved Volunteers for Cause under the main umbrella of World Merit. We are going to be combining the community development team as well as the Volunteer for Cause team. They will be known as the Community Engagement Team. So watch for more information on that. We have so many leaders stepping up from all over the world and creating so much impact. I've read stories that we've cleaned up 12 tons of garbage on the beaches in Manila. We have planted 50,000 trees, and those are just a few examples. Now, I want to look at some other things that the V4C team has done. We have done everything from health training and coaching, growing greener and Cano. We have worked on women's health hygiene sessions and Katsina Skills and Career Guidance series. Currently, we are very urgently working on the Ebola preparedness program. We will be involving all of you once we're done rolling that out to some of our coaches and volunteers that will be working with all of you for this initiative. I would also like to recognize Tosin, who is one of our amazing coordinators for V4C. He was one of the very first to get started with us. He formed the World Merit Council in Nigeria back in 2014. He has more than 100x'd our volunteer growth. He has trained over 400 leaders with over 80 chapters around the world and helped and assisted over 5,000 volunteers, please take a moment there in the chat to congratulate Tosin on such an amazing achievement. Next, I would like to recognize Amira. Amira got started back with us many years ago as well. She's been with us since 2019. She had joined and created the first council in Malaysia, later serving as the vice president. She also co-founded World Merit Malaysia, the national board. She has led 2 climate change events, plus over 200 virtual and 60 in-person university students have attended. And she was referred by Khadija, who is our very wonderful community engagement and expansion manager. So Amira today is doing all of our social media, our newsletter, and so many of our communications. If you could, please thank her in the chat for all of her hard work as well. We've had, again, 100 councils in over 55 countries developed and still growing every week. It's one thing to create that council. The next is growing it and getting out there and getting active with your communities. Thank you to every council, volunteer, team member driving all of this tremendous work forward. I would like, again, just that special recognition to the entire team of World Merit for all of the hours that you've put forth for this event, but also for the last year of putting in and keeping everything going, and all of the work you do for the communities. We will be doing a national council formation as well, and we have on the website, which you did not see, multiple languages will be listed on the website. So you'll also be able to translate the website into your native language, which was one of the requests that we had. And this will allow us to reach even more people very fast because they'll be able to understand what's going on, what is being said, and not have to worry about translating everything. So with that said, I would like to jump over to the closing remarks as we close out World Merit Day 2026. So, I want to tell you about a woman who walked across a graduation stage at 80 years old. 80 years old with 2 degrees. She had waited almost a century for that walk. And when she finally took it, she took it slowly, not because she couldn't move faster, but because she had earned every single step. And she was not going to let anyone rush her through a single one of them. That woman was my grandmother. And here's the part people have a hard time believing me when I tell them. She did not retire after that. Matter of fact, she kept working until she was 84 years old. She was still a chef in a restaurant. She was a server for many years, and she was on her feet in a kitchen feeding people until she was 84 years old. She wasn't in the first person in my family to work hard, not even close. She was just the first one ever allowed to finish. Think about what 80 years of waiting actually means. It means she wanted it at 20 and couldn't have it. It means she wanted it at 35, but she had 8 kids. She wanted it at 50, but the timing wasn't right. Then came 60 and 70, and her whole life had almost passed by. In every single one of those years, somebody or something told her, not you, not yet, not now, and be reasonable. And she finally said, yes, all right, and I'm doing it now. I have spent my entire adult life trying to be as unreasonable as that woman. She is a force of change. My family came to the US with almost nothing but a suitcase from Germany and Poland. Now, I want to be careful here because immigrant families build lives. It happens. So many of you have had to relocate to other countries. So I want to slow down here for a minute. We didn't arrive with money. We didn't arrive with any connections. Nobody was waiting at the door with a job or a place to live or a plan. They did not speak the language that other people were speaking in other rooms where decisions about their lives were being made. They arrived with their hands, their willingness, and each other. And out of those hands, willingness, and each other, they built an entire life and generations of family. An actual life with a roof and food and children who live to become adults who are standing here talking to you today. Nobody gave them that. They made it out of nothing on purpose after many hard years. And I'm the first person in my family to graduate from college, which sounds like it's a triumphant part of the story, but folks, it isn't. Because here's the thing about being first. You're not the first because you were the most deserving. You are the first because you were the one who finally got a door held open by people who never got the door held open for them. I did not outwork my grandmother, and quite honestly, I probably never will. That woman has been running a kitchen even at 84 years old. I was just born closer to that door. And she walked across the stage the same year I did. I have never in my life been prouder for somebody than her at that moment. Now, I also want to tell you about my dad, and you're probably wondering, why is this lady telling us all of this? Because there's a story behind it. When I look at the chat this week to see what you're all saying, I'm too old, I can't do this, I have no resources, I have a family that doesn't have much. I am telling you as living proof, you have more potential than you give yourselves credit for. Now, as a kid, my dad worked 2 jobs. He was making in US dollars when I was born, $1.50 an hour. He was delivering milk. He was also a mechanic to help support our family. He worked so many years, and matter of fact, to almost 70, he is still now working. He worked when he was tired, he worked when he was sick, and was there when there was nothing left for him to give, because that's what you do when people are counting on you. I watched him come home so tired, full of grease from working on engines every day, but he still made time to read me a book. Just like you can go and read a book to students at schools. You can help them learn. You can help them understand. You could teach them financial literacy. I watched my dad give up so many things in his life. I watched him do whatever he could to help support his family. And not once did he ever complain about it. And here's the thing about my dad, I didn't understand it. And as most things always happen, until I was much older. And it took me most of my life to see it. He couldn't give us money. There wasn't a lot. He gave us the only thing that he had, and that was free, and which was his love, and of course, the love of the outdoors. He took me to the water as a kid quite frequently. He showed me manatees that, if you're not familiar with a manatee, it is a ginormous, what I would fashion it as, called a sea cow that just floats gently in the water eating seagrass. That's it. They're very docile. You jump in the water, by the way, they may perhaps interact and try to play with you. The law says you're not supposed to do that, so please don't if you see one. A manatee is an enormous, absolutely defenseless creature that has somehow survived everything we've done to them by being gentle. My father would always go quiet when we saw one. And that's how I learned sometimes there's a reason for silence. One night later, we were walking on the beach in Jupiter, Florida, and I want to be honest with you about why we were there. We were there because it was free. That was the reason. We didn't have the money that the things other families could do. And that ocean did not charge admission. So that's where we went. We sat down in the dark of the sand, and in front of us, a leatherback sea turtle nest hatched. Now, for reference, a leatherback sea turtle will grow to be the size of a car. That is not an exaggeration. You certainly can fact check me on that. Now, if you've never seen it, which probably many of you haven't, because a lot of the sea turtles nest on the Atlantic side of the East Coast in the US, the sand does not break open all at once. First, it just moves. It shifts, it settles, and it shifts again. And like the beach is absolutely breathing. And then the whole thing comes apart. And out of the ground pours so many scrambling, unstoppable hatchlings, over usually 100 to 200 out of them, out of one nest, and each no bigger than the size of my palm. And every single one of them, they ran to the ocean like it was the only idea they've ever had. No one hesitated. Not one of them stopped to ask whether it was going to work. Here's what I did not know that night sitting in the sand next to my dad. Out of every 1,000 sea turtles that hatch, only one will make it to adulthood. So all of those hundreds of sea turtles I hatched, there was a chance none of them made it. There was no mom, sea turtle mom, to sit there and protect them. She had already came to the shore, laid her eggs, left, and headed back out to sea. She wasn't going to back to check on them. She wasn't going to be protecting them. They all ran for the water anyway. Now, my dad taught me something else without ever saying it out loud, which is how important things usually get taught. He taught me that having nothing and doing nothing, they're not the same, folks. They're not even close. They're not related. They're barely acquainted, matter of fact. He taught me that you don't need a budget to fall in love with the world, and you do not need a budget to fight for it. I joined Save the Manatees as a 6-year-old kid. Before I could drive, before I could vote, before anybody in the room would have taken me seriously. No one recruited me. No one paid me. I literally sent in on a stenciled piece of paper my name asking to join when I just learned how to write. There was no funding, just the stamp on that envelope. And then I grew up and I started protecting and going out to the springs to watch to make sure that people were not messing around and hurting the manatees. Again, no funding. I walked beaches at night, watching over sea turtle nests to make sure that people weren't shining a bright light or going to disturb a nest. Again, no funding. I fought for clean water in Florida. Again, no funding. I didn't have money, so I had those conversations. And that is where, my friends, that was the entire strategy. That is the whole secret. I'm giving it to you for free because that's what I got for free. So what do? You talk to people. I talked to people telling them what I had seen. I told them what was being lost, and I told them like it mattered because it did. So when you go out into your communities, you do exactly that. You speak with passion, you speak from the heart. And eventually those conversations are going to make it to volunteers. Volunteers are going to become a group, and the group is going to become something that shows up on a Saturday and did nothing but show up and help clean up. Not $1, not one grant, not one line item in a budget anywhere, just people who found out they cared, standing next to each other, discovering that they're not the only ones. And I want to say something honest about that. I'm not going to stand here and pretend it was easy. that it all felt heroic. While it was happening, it didn't. It just felt like an everyday. It mostly felt like being the only person who was upset about something, whether it was the coral being bleached, this mass killings of all of the fish from red tide. It felt like showing up on a Saturday because you'd rather be sleeping in, but it felt more than once like you're screaming into an empty room. And it's exactly how I feel right now when I turn on the news, when I see the damage to our environment, when I see people homeless and starving on the street. We have the choice to help make a difference. And that choice could be the difference of helping to change your community, where you live, in someone's life. And sometimes you never know the power of your impact until 5, 10, 15, or 30 years later. So here's the only real lesson I have for all of you. It took me over 40 years and 3 generations to learn it. Change does not take money. Change takes heart. Change takes passion. Change takes inspiration. And I'm looking at the screen at all of you, and I am absolutely overflowing with all 3. You all have that. Think about something that Walt Disney did. He built an entire empire on a swamp when no one believed him. And he pulled things out of thin air, and other people thought he is crazy. It is never going to work. The line that most often attributed to him is this: the way to get started is to quit talking and begin doing. That is the entire barrier to entry. Not money, not permission, not qualifications, just the decision to begin. Now, everything I've told you about my life today, that's not the point of this. You are the point of this. You are the next generation, not someday, not when you're ready, not when somebody taps you on the shoulder, now. And I want to speak directly to the part of you that's already quietly building the list of reasons that it doesn't apply to you. And I know, matter of fact, some of you that may be listening, it does apply to you. And I have a list that I want you to take part of. Don't be wait to be funded. Don't be wait to be chosen. Do not wait until you're old enough, qualified enough, connected enough, credentialed enough, brave enough, or even certain enough, because that time you may never feel it. And I promise you, the world is not going to be sending you that invitation. It never sent it to my grandmother. She waited 80 years and it never came. So she went and she took it and then worked another 4 years on top of it. It was never sent to my dad. He worked 2 jobs most of his life. No one sent him a thank you. You have to be that change. So take charge of what you can reach, not the whole ocean, a shoreline, not the whole crisis, a street, a classroom, a river, one neighborhood, one person. What does volunteering actually get you? And nobody tells you about it, and I wish somebody had told me. You think you're giving your time away. You're actually building a life. I'll be specific because vague encouragement never fed anyone. My first job, that came out of volunteering. Not out of an application, not out of a resume that impressed a stranger. I had been doing fundraising unpaid for something I cared about, and somebody watched me do it and hired me. And here is what fundraising actually teaches you, which is why I kept working on it. It teaches you how to walk up to a person, look them in the eye, and tell them why something matters. Ask them plainly for what you need, and then be quiet and let them answer. That's not a volunteer skill. That is the skill. That is every job interview, every negotiation, every pitch, and every difficult conversation you will ever have. And it didn't stop at the first job. It happened again and again. Every position I've ever had is traced back to somewhere down the line, to a room I first walked into for free. Every person I've met picking up trash on a shoreline, every hour I sat in the dark beside a turtle nest, every kayak trip, every meeting, every conversation with someone who loved the same water I did. Those people became my references, my skills, my network, my reputation, my confidence, my work, my friends, and the people who called me when something opened up, the people who vouched for me in rooms I was never in. I didn't volunteer my way into a better world. I volunteered my way into a bigger one. Doors are going to open that you didn't know could exist by volunteering. Talent is everywhere. It's in every village, every classroom, every forgotten town on this earth. But guess what's not? Opportunity. Opportunity clusters and hoards and hands itself to the well-connected, the brilliant people that are 3 miles away, but then there's others that are on the opposite side of town. They're never allowed to try it. That's the gap between the whole problem. That's why we're working so very hard to create this volunteer to fellowship program. In every hour you volunteer, every person you pull in, every door you hold open behind you, that is you personally closing it by an inch. Pope Francis once said, "Go, do not be afraid, and serve." And I say that because I see so much fear. I see hesitation. Go do it. You never know what's going to happen. So, in closing to all of this, you never know when you throw a stone into the water what's going to happen. You see those rings, you see the stone skip, but after a while, you lose the ripples and you're never going to see that last one. The rings keep going long and longer and longer, and they reach a shore that maybe you're never going to stand on. And they're still moving out there, still traveling when you've completely forgotten you threw anything at all. So you'll never know the full impact of what you do. You will never know which conversation kept someone here. You will never meet the kid who becomes a marine biologist because of a beach cleanup that you asked them to join on an unremarkable Tuesday, just an ordinary day of the week. You were almost exhausted to go to. So with that, go forward. One tiny thing, absolutely glorious, unignorable. That's you. One person is a single ripple. A room full of people who refuse to wait. That's the wave. And I'm not asking you to make waves. I'm telling you, you are one. Have a good day. July 24th, 2026 is the only one you're ever going to get. Make the most of it. Thank you for joining us for World Merit Day 2026.